hopefully series of publication. So, but on this one, I'm only focusing on one aspect, one paper that we have just submitted. Okay, just Chantal shared.
Yeah, just use the back and forth arrows, Mahan.
Okay. Okay, all good. Yeah, as you can see, this is I co-authored this one with Glenda, and sorry, I just don't know what is happening. Yeah, it's going well. Okay, so everything is good. So this opportunity actually for this research came from from Australian awards of South and West Asia with Griffiths. So the group of Bhutanese actually came to Griffith University, came to actually Brisbane, and then they were, under Australian award, they actually did some short course, and it was funded by DFAT, Australian, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And the short course was evaluating workforce learning and development initiatives in Bhutanese organization. And one of the primary focus of this program also was on gender diversity and inclusion. So Glenda and myself, we were involved in this short course from the beginning. We started with pre-course and the main course that we were in Griffith campus, and then we had Glenda actually went for the post program. She went to Bhutan. So we spent lots of time with this group of people. So that's why I think it was very important for our data collection process. Okay, so when we started this research, we were trying to focus on representation of women in Bhutanese professional workforce. And because we have done this previously with Glenda, as maybe most of you know, my research was women in leadership in Australia. So we had a good understanding of the issues, the barriers, the challenges women face. And we wanted to just have the, similar kind of research, with Bhutanese people. So, and we wanted to compare the different contexts. So we faced some of the challenges, definitely, that I'm going to explain further. If you don't know where Bhutan is located, it is, geographically, you can see, it is close to in south of China, and it has 6 valleys, each separated by Himalayan mountain. And a little bit, I would like to start with a background of Bhutan. If you are not familiar with the context, it has been a closed kingdom until 1970s, constitutional monarchy since 2008. It is predominantly Buddhist because 75% of the population are Buddhist, and especially they are mainly located in eastern part of the Bhutan. So in those regions, they follow very matriarchal actually culture and norms, and women are usually very highly educated, and they, for example, some of the examples I can have, women inherit property, and they are the breadwinners of the family. But we can see other regions like southern Bhutan, which has been influenced by Hindu and Nepalese culture, and in those sections we could see, there are some patriarchal culture, and with the discussion we had with this group, usually women move to their husband's house, and male or the male, actually children of the family has a significant role. So one of the main things we started to think about this topic, because especially when we started to work with this group, and we had a lots of discussion about gross national happiness. So Bhutan's current national policy is based on this gross national happiness index, which actually emphasizes on social welfare, and it's actually designed to measure the happiness and well-being of the Bhutanese people, and it actually follows four main pillars. So our focus actually was the first pillar, which is sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, which was actually leading to the gender equality policy. So, and informs actually the gender equality policy. So, and one of the focus of this policy was women participation in governance and political leadership. Was one of the focus of this or priority of gross national happiness, and that made us to think about, okay, maybe we need to do more research and think about how it influence, for example, women career progression. We have done definitely some research before we start this project, and we also know how understand how this gender equity goals and policy influence the organizational structure. We are not going to discuss too much about the policies in this paper. There is another paper that we are working on it, and it is really focused on public sectors and the influence of gross national happiness, and especially focus on gender equality policy within the organization. So there are some examples here. Just briefly, just tell you about some of, for example, the policies they have, for example, about empowering women to senior roles or leadership positions. Some of them, they can, there is a very focus on, for example, maternity, longer maternity leave, and they were, encouragement to, progress, and also there was an encouragement to balance work and family, and try to encourage women to progress further in their career. There are also lots of, organizational structures and, infrastructures actually that help women to supported women to stay within the workplace when they become a mother. Or after having children. Again, I'm not going to discuss this matter too much, because I'm not going to have enough time to cover everything. A little bit more about labor force in Bhutan. As you can see, the women have a very significant role in agriculture. So you can see 63% of women are in agriculture in Bhutan, and they really contribute to the economy of the country. So they have a significant role actually in government, and also contributing to the to the country. And the other one is 27% are in service sector. These are some of the examples that I wanted to share with you, and you can have a look at other examples. What we were focusing actually in this paper was really focused on women in professional category and managers, because it was more relevant to our research that we were doing previously in Australia. Okay, so after we started, to collect some data and think about, we had the same research approach for this, this study, but then there was actually Cook's this statement actually influenced our research, because when we inform our research question for this specific paper, that when the statement says a researcher's cognitive understanding of what they see underpins the conceptualization and interpretation of data. So we really we wanted to know whether do all the research framing question issues translated into a different culture context, or can we make a meaningful contribution to examining gender equity in Bhutan because we were not from the same context? And can we be cultural interpreters, as Cook mentioned in her paper? So this was some of the points that we were thinking about when we were comparing our research from what we were doing previously in Australia and what we started to do with Bhutanese people. So there are some literature review is mainly focused on the role of reflexivity of the researchers and their influence on on interviews and data collection. So, for example, you can say, according to Atkinson and Hammersley, an interview is a social event. It displays cultural particulars, and it's determined by a discursive relation and situatedness. So, and there are lots of other, research talking about that researcher influence on the data collection and analysis. And also you can see another Lincoln also mentioned that interviewees are informed by the knowledge of social subsystem operative in that culture, but constant adoption of the interview process are needed to suit each individual situation in relation to the participant subjectivities. Objectivity implying neutrality and detachment is not possible on the part of the interviewer or interviewee. We really wanted to test actually all of this and see if we had any influence on this research. And other research, lots of other literature that I'm going to share this with. I'm not going to read all of them, but one of the things I was really interested in, we actually draw this one from draw our question based on this literature, that researchers as cultural interpreters provide vivid description that reveal beliefs, values, and action in the society and organization, and aim to develop a better understanding of nature of the reality as socially constructed through the interaction of social and national beliefs, values, and action in the broader society. These are all. So then we started to collect data, and in this paper, in this specific paper, we really reflect on our role as a researcher in a cross-cultural setting, because we had this experience, from our previous research, but really we wanted to compare whether this is different in different cultural setting, and the field challenges that we encountered during this data collection we have discussed in this paper. Through the qualitative interview in Australia and Bhutan, we became conscious of the differences, because there were lots of different elements of Bhutan culture that had been unknown to us when we started, and we were just thinking about setting the same set of questions help us to have an understanding of women career progression in Bhutan. But fortunately, we just became aware of these differences at very early stages in our data collection, and we made some changes based on the responses that we received from some of the participants. For example, I share later on some of our example, what was the differences. In Australia, we have when we were talking with women or men, when we were talking about gender equity and or maybe gender inequality, or even some of the policies that we have, everyone knew, and they had the great awareness of all of this information. But we were not sure whether it is because we are talking, always within the organization, or in Australia, they have really raise the awareness by providing lots of training, workshop, and the policies that always is a discussion within the organization. Maybe that has increased the awareness, but it wasn't similar in the context of Bhutan. So we really had to. We started to ask the question, but we didn't want to prompt a direct question about gender inequality, but at the end, after collecting some of the data, then we just thought that, okay, we have to maybe prompt some of these questions which is relevant to gender inequality issues within the workplaces and policies within the workplace in Bhutanese context. So that's why we could, understand the differences, and but we were not sure. Again, it is just only because it is a matter of differences in the culture, and or maybe it was because of we are from different culture or background, or it was because of really they are different contexts, and they because of lack of awareness, they are not talking about gender issues within the organization, or maybe just even they just believe that they don't have any problems within the organization. I just wanted to share with some of the codes and the differences that we face here. In Bhutan, we use a similar question to those developed for our Australian study, as I said at the beginning of this presentation. But we were immediately confronted with this challenge. So as I said, the research question did not elicit answers as readily as we expected, and we had to just and the people had different respondents. So, for example, the interviewer, for example, I asked, as you have been in the information sheet, because we provide the information sheet to them before the before having the interview. Our focus in this study is about women career progression. So I wonder about your thought on women's career progression and women getting to management, whether there is any differences in their career to those of men. And as you can see, they feel like there is no gender biases within the organization, or gender equality or inequality or whatsoever. They considered, and they said that they we consider as long as he or she is capable or the position is open for all, so they don't discriminate. So, and I have another one that I would like to share with you. I give you some time, maybe you just go through this one. And this one is more focused on societal and cultural expectation of women. But the difference between the previous one and this one was when we actually started, when Gelenda went to Bhutan, and she started to ask question from some of the experts, and those are familiar with the context. For example, this question comes from one of the female manager in National Commission for Women and Children. So they were really, we believe that they were really aware of, the gender issues in the context. So, and then they actually started to explain further for us. So this helped us to think about and compare, whether it is just a matter of their awareness, or it is because of the cultural differences. I just give you some time to just go through this one. Chantal, I'm not sure how much time I have. Is it just?
Yeah, so we've got about 10 minutes, 10 minutes to have discussion on your presentation.
Okay, great. Okay, and this is my last actually reflection, and as I said, we have still 2 more papers that we are going to focus more, but this is more about our reflection about our experience and the lessons we learned during our research in different cultural settings. So perhaps we had not considered enough that the framing of the question we were posing may not transfer as readily to a different cultural context. We hypothesize that in the Australian discussion about discrimination and gender equity have existed in the social landscape of decades and therefore was easily understood. And Australian female interviewees had lived experience of and were actually alert to observing these issues in their organization. And Australian male interviewees did not always respond without prompting, and it was the similar situation in in Bhutan. A similar situation, but we had an interview with male interviewees. And our recommendation for this specific, book chapter was for future research is the need for researchers to critically contemplate and demonstrate their subjectivity by writing reflexively. It is also important to critically reflect on how researchers position themselves in writing up their research, as well as the extent to which their identities construct and position their work. And also, it is important to mention the benefits of undertaking in-country field work, because, as I said, Glenda, when she went to Bhutan, she had a very good understanding of the context and the cultural differences in Bhutan. Thank you so much. And Glenda, if you like, do you like to add anything? Sorry, I had to rush. I just arrived, before this presentation, and yeah, maybe I just wasn't.
No, thank you, Mahan.